Greetings, you beautiful creatures. Welcome back to my table. It has been a very long time. Now you will only be seeing my hands. It's going to be very interesting, very exciting for me. I'm very late to this tag, hopefully fashionably late, and you all accept me in. The Taromance tag created by Sylvie at Tarot Magpie. I'm very excited. I've had my notes for a while, but what delayed me was the first deck that I'm going to be sharing with you. I had to really see if it fit the bill before I dedicated to adding it to the list, because genuinely there was nothing else that felt like it could fit, and I had to give it some time to marinate and work with it a little bit to see if it was actually true what I was going to be saying about it. I had to put it to the test, and I you know what, let's just jump into it. If you haven't heard of the tag, definitely check it out. Tarot Magpie, Taromance Tropes. We're going to be talking about decks in terms of the romance tropes in media. So, the first deck that I'm going to talk about is my Enemies to Lovers. You will have seen it on my most recent video. It is the Alchemical Visions Tarot. Okay, so for Enemies to Lovers, we have a deck or a style or system you've insisted it wasn't for you until you realized it was. I really mostly interpret it in terms of enemies to lovers. That was just a strong word, and I genuinely, even though the prompt didn't necessarily say that like you hated the deck, I would say just nothing else fit that title of enemy. Like I just couldn't bear to put any other deck that like maybe I thought wasn't for me into the category of an enemy, because it didn't feel right. I felt unfair. But this deck, I can say it felt like an enemy, because I didn't like it. It creeped me out. I thought it was really strange and just wrong. Maybe wrong is a mean word, but yeah, it just was a little bit too much for me. I didn't really like it, and so I felt like, you know what, you're just not for me. We're just not gonna work out. You're beautiful, but like also you're grotesque, and oh, sorry, there's nudity. Jeez Louise. God, I'm really not great at that. I would just say, honestly, assume that all my videos have decks with nudity in them, because yeah, whenever, I don't know. But yeah, this deck was just, it would creep me out. Like it would make me so uncomfortable. But if you watched my recent video on dark decks, you will know that I'm quite happy with this deck. I've done some readings with it as of late, and I really appreciate the depth of it and the invitation that it offers. So I think we maybe have an on again, off again. So if I may add that as in sort of addendum to this trope here, is that we're enemies to lovers, and it's one that we on again, off again. Sometimes we love each other, sometimes we're enemies. We have this push and pull, and but right now we're loving each other. So that's where we're at. That is my I don't know if anything grotesque has shown up, but God, this Six of Cups, this just shows you how stunning this deck is. I mean, I love this spiral here. Those flowers are stunning, right? We have roses, lilies, is that a petunia? You know what? I'm really showing my lack of flower identification. Embarrassing. Ooh, yeah, look at that judgment. Like, imagine you were here, right? Like, what would you be doing? Anyway, that's a video for another day. This is my Enemies to Lovers deck, the Alchemical Visions deck. We're lovers right now, and so I would ask for your congratulations on our current love affair, our current love arrangement. We love each other right now. We're in love. I love this opening though. You can like whatever card you put there, that I've always loved. You know, it's always had those like lovely qualities. But Anyway. Okay, I'm just looking at the decks I have, and it's just showing me how interesting this video is going to be, because next we're going to jump into Soulmates. And for my Soulmate deck, we have the Lua Tarot. This is a deck that was just meant to be a deck that you fell in love with immediately. This is it. This is kind of the deck that I learned tarot on, I would say. It just gave me the perspectives that made so much sense to me. Here at the back, this is the first edition. This deck is out of print, unfortunately, at the moment. Hopefully it will be available sometime in the future. But fuck, I love this Empress. But with this deck, I was looking for a deck at the time that was black and white. There might be some like order to this because I was kind of messing with it for something. Yeah, I was looking for a deck that was black and white, but all of the black and white decks were just so harsh in their contrast. And I was looking for something, I didn't even fully know what I was looking for. I just knew that like, I felt like if I found a black and white deck that I loved, like it would work for me, but nothing was just calling out to me. And when I saw this deck, it was love at first sight. Like I just knew that it was the deck for me. I loved the style of it. This is my girl these days. I recently did a bit of a check-in with myself, kind of like a updated significator, and this is it. This is my significator moving forward. Who knows for how long? But I haven't done that since I started reading tarot. Like significators have come up sort of more organically that I've used. But this is the first time I've intentionally said, okay, from now on, this is the one. But anyways, yeah, this deck, it just stood out to me. What makes this interesting as my Soulmate deck, however, is that there are some images from the Lua Tarot. I'm gonna pull, give me a sec. Okay, if you know what I'm about to say, put it in the comments. But the interesting thing about this being my Soulmate deck is that it has a lot of overlapping imagery with the, not a lot, okay, that's dramatic. It has overlapping imagery with the alchemical visions. Specifically, there are a few figures and buildings because they have a similar art, like they're using similar art or art from the same, in the same style. Let me look for it here. This is a figure on the moon card. This is the main figure on the moon card. This is from, I believe, the 6 of Cups, not the 8. Where is it here? Let me look for it. Here he is. There's this guy. I'm gonna zoom in. Yeah, this guy's here. There he is. And you also have, right, here's the castle from, it is the 8, not the 6, from the 8 of Swords. And you also have, where's my moon? There's definitely more. I just don't necessarily remember. It's been a while since I've put these decks side by side. But this is not about the alchemical visions, but here I am. Here we found him. That is our moon. Sorry, some lighting issues I didn't even notice. But yeah, so the thing about, yeah, that's something that's really interesting about this deck is that my Soulmate deck shares imagery with my, yeah, and this guy's definitely in there. I was looking for this one inside the alchemical visions, but I couldn't find him. So, but yeah, the thing about this that's really interesting is that my Soulmate deck shares the same images as my enemies to lovers deck. And honestly, I'm be real, I didn't notice, I did not remember that when I was putting this list together. And I find that could be a really interesting thing to explore. Let me know if you have any ideas. I don't have any off the top of my head, but I'm sure if I sat down with it, I could come up with something as far as like maybe a reading that both of these decks could bring into it, related to maybe romance or just in general to my my feelings about each deck and what each deck does for me. So I think that'd be something that's really interesting. This is I talk about this sometimes in that when I first get a deck, not for every deck, but for some decks, there's just a card that really sticks out for me, or a few cards that stick out, and I try to like sort of pick one of them, or the one that feels the most resonant for me, as the one that sort of encapsulates my feeling about the deck when I first get it. And this is the one for my my Lua deck. And so that might tell you something. It just feels like, well, it started off as a very motherly deck. Right now she's, you know, been giving me some nourishing yet tough love, and I've used it for ancestor work as well as ancestor communication and things like that. You know, I do have some mixed feelings about the deck. You know, we have our issues, we have our, you know, little moments, but overall, this is the deck that made me sort of fall in love with the tarot and really showed me that it could work for me. I love that this deck, one last thing I will say, I like that the deck really illustrates a lot of times the idea behind the card as opposed to, this is another one of the cards of the deck for me, as opposed to like showing the number of, like having the pips. That's one thing I didn't even realize that I loved in a deck, is when it's about the message as opposed to showing the number of pips. Like sometimes I get kind of annoyed when a deck has like 8 cups in it. Like, I don't want to see the 8 cups. I want to feel the 8 cups. You know what I mean? And sometimes I think that can take away from like valuable real estate for artwork. That's just, you know, my opinion sometimes. But sometimes it is also nice. And because it's like written out, you're never going to not know what's what. I think that's kind of necessary when you don't have the thing in every single image. Yeah, I've been through it with this deck. Let me not, because I could go on. Let's move on. Okay, speaking of opposites attract and speaking of ancestors, we have speaking of opposites, this is the opposites attract. This deck is, this deck is not your usual style, but you love it anyways. This could have been in the enemies to lovers technically, because it's a system that I didn't think I would like. The Secret of the Ancestors Oracle. I didn't think that I would like a deck that is pretty much the major... What is going on with this lighting? The majors... Fuck, what was I saying? Oh, yes. The majors, the minors, and the aces. Pretty much that's what this deck is. And I did not think that I would like a deck like that. Did I show the backs? I haven't... I don't think I showed the backs of the... whatever the fuck it's called. Anyway, yeah, I didn't think that I would like a deck like this, but, you know, it has really worked for me. I like that because, you know, an Oracle deck, sometimes it's hard to connect with. It has sort of a barrier to entry because it's its own system. You don't always know. But I thought I wouldn't like this because I feel like, well, then now I'm just thinking in tarot, and like it's kind of too similar but not the same. And then there's a bunch missing. But because this deck, I don't know, it just works. Jeez, what is going on with the light, you all? Like, can we, I don't know, y'all. Bear with me on the light. This is, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, because of what this deck does, I think it's helpful that it's grounded in tarot, but it gives you a new perspective. I genuinely, this is honestly one of the cards that's not my favorite. I don't know what it is. Something about the art just feels like off. But I do love the butterflies. It's almost like having like a major arcana deck, or just like separating out those parts of the deck, but it's also absolutely not that at the same time. God, if you have better words, let me know about how to explain what this kind of deck feels like. I don't have the words. I just know that I'm just attracted to it. And I did not think I would ever be attracted to this kind of thing. You know, it's not my usual thing. But yeah, that's the Secret of the Ancestors. I honestly wish I could give it a better, you know, story and conversation, but that's all I got. You know, we're just having a good time together, and we're unexpected buddies, you know. We made our way to each other. All right, I should have solved the lighting issue by this point. Next is our Friends to Lovers. This is a deck that you liked well enough, then one reading deepened or changed your relationship with it. For me, this deck, yeah, I've always liked it, hence why I got it. You know, it's a very interesting deck. It's sort of easy to like, in my opinion, but it's the Navigators Tarot of the Mystic Sea. It's such a beautiful, vibrant, cool deck. Like, it's just, I feel like it's for the cool kids. And yeah, I really liked it. Like, I really like out there, kind of like interesting decks that kind of have their own system. But what changed this deck for me and made it into like a sort of forever deck, to be honest. I'm still, we still have more work to do. But what changed it for me was I've been doing an SKT study with a friend, and so we've been working through the book of readings for the Spirit Keepers Tarot. And I received, in one of the readings, I received the Hierophant from the deck, which is so fucking cool. It was for the next chapter of your life. And part of that reading, Benabel offers us the opportunity to choose from 2 other decks and to sort of read what those decks have to say about that card. And I chose this one. Don't ask me why, but I chose it. And once I saw that Hierophant, which let's see if we can find. I should have had it ready. Here we are, baby. Once I saw this Hierophant and I read the guidebook, that was just it for me. It was just it. This deck, I mean, the guidebook is thick with like 5 C's. It's so thick and beautiful with so much information. And I'm blown away. I'm truly blown away. And we're in love. We're almost like, I don't know, it's like almost on a soulmate level. Like, maybe that's too big to say, but I just feel like we're not married, but we're just gonna be together forever. And it's just kind of like that thing where you just know that you're just kind of always gonna be in each other's lives. And that's how I feel about this deck. I just think that that's where we are. And, there's no pressure to be anything specific. We create whatever dynamic we want. And maybe that's because we started as friends. And so we always have the opportunity to create whatever dynamic we want. I'm loving this. I feel like this has made the most sense for the romance tropes. It feels the most romantic in a sense. But yeah, I love the keywords. I love the artwork. The guidebook is amazing. Knock it out of the park. I mean, that's it. It's just wonderful. It makes me think. It's out there. God, it's not like, I feel like if you would have said like, choose a deck that you would think would be like very me, but it just kind of is very me. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It just is. But yeah, maybe that's, like I said, maybe that's because we were friends first. When you're friends first, you know for sure that you have a lot in common. And I think me and this deck have a lot in common. And it tells you a lot that there are only 2 decks in my collection that have these bags. Granted, because, I'd rather get decks than bags. I can't afford to be buying, honestly, like $20, $30 bags for decks that I like. I don't know if that's, I wish I could, but, I don't. But there are 2 decks in my collection that have these bags, and it is the Gentle Tarot and this deck. The Gentle Tarot wasn't always the Gentle Tarot. That one I kind of switch around. No, that's a lie. There's 3. Whatever. Point is, this deck has a bag, and this was meant for this deck. Like, I got this bag for this deck. That should be telling you something. Like, we were BFFs. I don't even know how we were BFFs. We just kind of, it's like we just pick up where we left off. That's how we are. Next is Forced Proximity. I've also recently talked about this deck. This is the Hayworth Tarot, and this Forced Proximity deck is a deck you used for a month, took on a holiday, made yourself work for, that changed your relationship with it. So I chose to use this deck for while I was reading. Well, I am still reading it, honestly. I've kind of given myself, allowed myself the long road to reading House of Leaves. I think, I don't know, I kind of want to jump ahead because I feel like I've shown those cards before. Let me move that out of the way so it doesn't fuck up the focus. But this is a disturbing deck. Warning, warning, warning. But yeah, I chose to use it as I'm reading House of Leaves. And so because it was a deck that just, I felt like matched the energy, and it's worked so fucking well. And I feel like it just always, I don't know, like it just, every time, like if I'm reading it and it's talking about like, okay, this is not a full spoiler, but like if you're planning on reading the book, maybe skip past this if you don't like to hear details about a book before you read it. But there's this moment in the book where, oh my God, there's a staircase, right? The book is about a house that's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. And so they go in, various shit ensues. It's wild. And one of the moments, there's a staircase, so there's like a hallway, and then once you get past the hallway, there's like this grand hall, and then there's a spiral staircase that goes down, and you don't know how far it goes down, but then at one freaking point in the book, like I don't even know, it's one of the most recent sections that I've read, I want to say like 300 freaking pages in, the staircase extends, it gets longer, it shortens to like get somebody to the top, and then the person at the bottom just fucking disappears because the staircase just elongates, literally so big that it's like twice the distance around the entire planet of the Earth. You're never getting out. Anyways, so in a moment like that, I would do a little reading. I might just pull a card on like this dread and fear and confusion and what the fuckery. And this deck just always hits the spot. Like it just does it. Like, I don't know. Okay, let's ask a question, right? Like, what would I do down there if I was left alone and like I had to survive down there? Let's say I had everything I needed. What would a full solitary life be like down there? Okay. See, all right, you know what I mean? Like it just gets it. What is it? Understands the assignment. This deck understands the assignment. Do you feel me? I'd eat myself a freaking live. I would die alone. You can't be alone. You don't have everything you need. The monster is you. You become the monster. There's nothing. Oh God. Yeah, this deck, it gets it. I mean, that's all I have to say. We're best buds. Once, we were always, this could also be in the friends to lovers category, but we had a specific reason to get together. We made it work. Jesus. And now we're thick as thieves, and the work is still in progress. I'm excited, for finishing this book eventually, and hopefully I come out of it in one piece. All right, we've hit that point in the video where I'm like, all right, speed it up, baby. Next, we're going to share the Second Chance deck. This is a deck you plan to get rid of that worked its way back into rotation, or a deck that you did move along and ended up repurchasing. That I haven't done like any repurchasing, not that I can think of, but no, this is the wrong deck. Spoiler alert. That's going to come up soon. This is it's the Cosmic Slumber. This deck I've planned on getting rid of. I was like, you know what? I got it for I kind of got it for the Devil Lovers artwork. It's perfection. But I had an idea to pull it out while chatting in the comments. And, geez Louise, I'm kind of a mess, y'all. I'm just going to kind of jump to a nice spot. There we go. I had the idea to bust it out after a nice little conversation in the comments and try it for dream work. Now, I'll be honest. I'll be, real with you. This video's, we're keeping it real here. I have not used it yet for the purpose in which I am bringing it back into rotation. But I am working with it to get that process going for dream work, I've sort of fallen back in love and remembered, like I remembered why we fell in love in the first place, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And so that's where we're at together. I'm very excited. I think, you know, it took the opportunity to sort of see the deck in a new light and kind of give it a role, give it a purpose, and sort of that allowed me to look at its qualities and say, oh my gosh, yeah, you have so much to offer, which I always knew, but because we hadn't, you know, we hadn't spent enough time together to really appreciate, we kind of fell out of love a little bit. Is that me right now? Yeah. You know, the whole significator thing. I want to pull out all my Queen of Swords. Not all. Pull out a bunch. But anyway, yeah, we're still in progress, but it's kind of the only deck as of recently that I've kind of put away to be rehomed that has come back out. I was originally looking at the Hierophant, but the other thing is, actually, I do think that I might use it. I recently got the Koriko Magical Year. Gosh, I can't even remember the title, but it's Koriko. It's a single player tabletop role-playing game, a single player role-playing game that I ordered on Kickstarter like a year ago that just came in. And I think this might be the deck that I'm going to use for it. I'm not totally sure. I have another deck that I have in mind, but this is the one that I think I'll use. So yeah, we're getting to know each other again, trying to find kind of our rhythm. So yeah, this is my second chance deck. We're coming back together. And we're making sense of our renewed connection. I don't think we're gonna, you know, we're gonna fall out of love anytime soon, you know? So even though we are in progress and I haven't fully, you know, figured it out and we haven't done any of our readings yet, we're still getting to know each other. I don't think they're in danger of leaving, so I just do want to say that because, you know, we haven't solidified it yet. But it's solidified in my mind, and that's what counts. That's what counts. PSA. Be careful with your decks. Since we had that spoiler, let's jump into the Blind Date deck. This is the Animal Allies Oracle card for the Blind Date, which is an impulse buy, a gift, or a deck you got without much research but ended up really loving. This was a gift. If you've seen my video on unboxing like a gift from a subscriber turned friend, you will recognize this deck. But I love this deck. It's probably, not probably, it is, jeez Louise. Here we go. That's a great place to start. It is one of the best, if not the best, animal decks that I have. I don't have many, but I just love it. And I don't want to speak too rashly, but I don't think any animal oracle, at least, is going to surpass it because it kind of has what I'm looking for in a deck like this. Like, you would think that I would want keywords, which I have the tarot oracle and that does have keywords, but something about this deck just feels more alive to me. And I like that it doesn't have keywords because it allows me to build connections with these animals and research them myself and sort of spend a dedicated period of time connecting with that animal's energy as well. And that's really what, where I'm at with it now. I haven't done any, like sort of spreads or readings with it in that way. But I look forward to when that day comes as I continue to connect with more animals in the deck. I like the format. I think the colors are great. I think the borders, this could also be in the opposites attract, because maybe it's not a deck that I would think that I would like based on like it has a very decorative border, and I'm usually not a fan of like big borders with a lot of like decorations on it that are just sometimes like that just it kind of takes me out because they all look the same, and I don't really like that. If it's not like a plain border and it's not like a sort of very fancy embellished border in that way, then I usually not super fancy, but like kind of like maybe like a gold foil or like a nice understated, you know, but fancy type of thing. You know what I'm saying, right? If it's not that, then I don't really like it. Like I'm not a fan of big borders and borders that have like, you know, squigglies, whatever. But this one, it's the exception. It just really is. And it was a gift. So like I said, I would not have gotten it myself, but I love it. I really, really, really love it. So I'm so glad I have it because, you know, what is better than a deck that, like a surprise like that, when you're like, I would not have purchased this deck. Like I know myself, I wouldn't have gotten it. And what a shame. I'm so grateful. Like that just also makes our relationship so much cooler, is that it made its way to me through another person. And I love that. Jeez Louise. And it has so many cool animals in it. Like I love it. I haven't connected with the bighorn sheep, but that's a look. I love the rabbits. But yeah, that's the animal allies. They really are allies. I love them. Okay, 3 more prompts left, and the last 2 are going to be connected, and I'm really excited to share those. So, but before we do that, let us get into our Unrequited love deck. That is going to be the new chapter tarot. You know, there might be a theme here with liminal 11 decks, but you know, we won't get into it today. This is a deck you really want to love, but it just doesn't love you back. Yet. This deck, look at the cover. This, see, I guess maybe we are talking about Limit 11. It just does it for me. Like this right here, sold. Sold. You sold me. It's the artwork too. I love it. I love the artwork. I love that it's like kind of smaller. I hate the fucking cardstock, but that's another story, like I said. I love the geometry in this deck. It's very thothy in that way to me. But ultimately, what I think is that it's a deck of depth that is sort of treated like a deck that's straightforward. It's not straightforward. Like, I don't know, maybe if you're like an expert, you know, wild reader, you could get it. Not all of them, you know, some cards are more straightforward than others, but I think overall, like, it just doesn't read for me. Like, it just falls flat. Like, I don't get it. I like the art. If I look at a card sort of individually, like, I feel it, but then when I start pulling cards, like, it just doesn't read. Like, it has nothing to say to me. Emptiness, quiet, silence. Why are you so silent? Why won't you speak to me? I don't know. I'm still hoping. Like, this is not like the Cosmic Slumber. The Cosmic Slumber, I was like, yeah, you could go. This one, I don't think I could do it. Like, I just think it's too lovely to get rid of. Like, I'm still holding out hope for us. You know, I guess very unrequited. I'm just still hoping. I'm still here waiting and just being like, you'll love me one day. You will. I know you will. One day we'll talk. One day you'll speak to me. If I just keep trying, if I just stick around, you'll see, like, it's worth it. Like, it's worth it to talk to me. I promise. This deck makes me desperate. I don't know. What a beautiful fool, though. Not gonna lie. The fucking art. It's gorgeous. Like, it's good. Like, you can't, I don't know. You can't deny that. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, you can't deny that. It's stunning. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's perfect. But I feel like, okay, yeah. If you were to say a deck that would be like me, like when I was talking about the Navigators tarot, I feel like you would think of a deck like this. You'd be like, yeah, this is right up your alley, baby. Like, this is for you. But yeah, I guess the deck doesn't feel the same way. Like, I don't get it. Someone tell me if you know what to do with this deck. Tell me how I can make it love me back. Tell me how I can make it speak to me, that I can hear its voice. Maybe I need to do a reading again and chat with it like I did with the Heindel. How I asked the Heindel and I was like, why are you being mean to me? Like, why are you giving me all these negative messages? I could do that with this deck and be like, hey, why won't you talk to me? And maybe I could force it into not force, I could coax it into a discussion, but maybe it'll just be like, la 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 la, I'm not talking to you. Who knows? You know what? Let me just do what I did with the hayworth. Let's see. Okay. Why won't you talk to me? What's the reason that you're so silent? The first thing that comes to mind is just like there's almost too much to say. Maybe we need to make the issue lighten the maybe we need to lighten the pressure, make it a little bit more simple, not put too much pressure on the conversation. I think maybe I've been putting too much pressure and I just need to let it flow naturally, maybe. And let's just ask what's something simple that we could, what's just a simple way that we could make contact and have a little connection. So funny, I was staring at this card earlier. I see the Knight of Discs as the personification of taking it slow and taking our time and being really thorough. And what it makes me think of in this context is kind of being there for the everyday, in the present moment, in the mundane. And what you would think is that you would need to pull it out for something a little bit more dramatic. It's called the New Chapter Tarot. I know that the creation behind it was during a difficult time in the creator's life. I know there was divorce. I forget what else was going on. But yeah, for that reason, and sort of because of the depth that I personally perceive in the deck and that I'm sort of like feeling that magnetism toward, I'm attracted to that aspect and that's what I want to use it for. But I think it's really a perception thing. Anyway, I won't get too deeply into it. Something I'll think about as I move forward. But thanks for joining me on that. Anything else you want to say to me as we move on? Know when to call it. I feel like I called it and then I asked for another card, and it sort of showed me that I was having a bit of a scarcity mindset around consuming a deck, like feeling like, that's not enough, like I want more. And yeah, just know when to call it, and recognize that when you feel like you need more, you don't have enough, it's just a limitation in your mind. Focus on what's in front of you, and you will see that there's actually plenty that you have access to, and plenty that we've already discussed. We already discussed it, and I took it further, know when to call it. That's the New Chapter Tarot. Thanks for joining me for that. Next, we've been real. We're going to continue to keep it real. And, that's just a little bit of a warning. The next one is Love Triangle. And that means that my last one is going to be a slow burn. Just a little bit of a spoiler? I don't know. Love Triangle. The two decks that are in competition with one another. They're very different. Very big also. Let me zoom out. They are in competition with each other because they're both collage decks. Let me pull them out so you can see. I'm sure you've heard of the Ritual Tarot. I feel like they came out, the first edition of the Ritual Tarot came out around the same time as the Telezma, as far as I remember. I think the Telezma maybe came out first. This deck I did trim, and I edged it in this green to match the sort of colors, which you would think it would be red, But no, I chose green. Like I said, I trimmed it. I trimmed the gilding off, and I might. Sometimes I think maybe I should trim off the little bit that I still have at the top. But I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just. I came back and I wrote in the numbers for some of the cards. What is this? This is a fire card, clearly. But I wrote them so small and so inconspicuously that I don't even know where the numbers are now. Ah, here it is. This is the 4. Look at that. You can't even see that. That's how tiny it is. So, yeah, we have... Don't worry, I won't burn the deck. These decks are in competition with each other because when I first saw the Ritual Tarot, I was, I had some reservations. And I'm going to talk about this the more I talk about the Ritual Tarot. But when I first saw it, I was like, I mean, it's stunning. Like, I love it. But it was gaining such a hype that my contrarian, rebellious side came out. And I was like, well, if everyone loves it, then I don't like it. No, I don't like it, but like, I'm not going to be swept up into a trend here, okay? You can't get me, okay? And price-wise, the telezma was more, affordable. Not by a lot, but still. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go against the hype. I'm going to get the telezma tarot. And, the Ritual Tarot's, yeah, everybody can love it. It's, not me, though. And then I got the telezma. We had some great experiences together, but I realized that some of the artwork is just a bit not for me. I do like this moon card, though, I will say. And this lust card. Look at that's such a nice pair. I haven't paired them, honestly. But yeah, we've had some great experiences, but some of the cards, I'll be honest, I don't like that there's so many faces, and I just can't relate to some of the collages. Like the Queen of Coins in this one, I probably won't be able to find her. Like even that, there's nothing wrong with that. You have Lana Del Rey. I don't know who that is, sir. I should know who it is. I don't know. It looks like Elvis off the top of my head, but I know it's not Elvis. Is it like one of those mob movies? I think that's what it is. However, I like it. It's great, but I can't relate to it. I don't know how to read it. And now that I have the Ritual Tarot, I don't need to. So it just, honestly, it's been languishing ever since. Yeah, it's been languishing ever since. They're different. They're very different. This one feels a lot more real. In the real, in the people, happenings, culture, stuff like that. As far as we're actually doing them. And this one feels a lot more abstract as far as as we experience them in our, minds, hearts, and souls and things like that. It's less everyday. They both have, a lot of spiritual aspects, but okay, I'm not gonna lie. This is a good example of why I can't relate. I can't relate to that. I don't. And I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. There's something about it. It's just kind of it bothers me that I can't relate to it. It bothers me that some of the references are so culturally specific that I don't get it. I just think maybe it's just, maybe I'm also not the right generation, and it's not part of, there's not a lot of my own personal experiences and culture mixed in, whereas I feel like something about the Ritual Tarot feels a little bit more open-ended, more accessible, because there's not as many human faces, and maybe that's something to know. But anyways, so those are decks that are in competition with each other, and as you can see, the telezma does not win in that regard if it's a competition, I choose the Ritual Tarot. I do. Even with that image. And this is my my deck for the slow burn. A deck you didn't have the best first impression of, but the more you worked with it, the more you liked it. So not only did I have this rebellious, contrarian feeling about, oops, battery died. I don't remember the last thing I was saying. But yeah, not only did I have a hard time with the hype, but then when I got the deck in, I was like, oh shit, I don't know that collage decks are for me. Like, I think I struggle with collage decks. Hint, I think it was just this deck. That's not true. I think I struggle with collage decks overall. I don't think they're as intuitive for me. Or at least they didn't used to be. I think I've gotten better with them because of this deck. But the more I worked with it, and then I found use for it as I'm working with Anubis, and you know, our relationship has just been flourishing. Like, this might be one of my favorite decks of all time. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've fully fallen into the hype, you guys. You know, like, it's true. I think it's just that good. And it pains me you have to know how much it pains me to say that as someone who was like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. And here I am saying that is one of the best. It's up there. I don't personally see it ever coming down. But, you know, maybe that's being too dramatic. But you heard the way I said that, right? Like, it sounded very sure. Probably the most sure that I've sounded in this video. Yeah, this is it. Ooh, we are... Yeah. I love how I started with a deck that I didn't know, and I'm ending with a deck that I don't really know about, or that I didn't know about. I love it. And the title is so me. The heart of the deck is so me. You know, maybe it makes sense. I mean, all the decks I have, in a way, are so me because I have them. But in this tag specifically, I feel like I've just gotten a good, nice little encapsulation of what I love and the decks that are so me in the different ways that they're me. I'm very much intrigued by this chariot. I really would love to know you all's thoughts. Yeah, on this chariot. It's the chariot, right? I know it's the chariot, but then, you know, I just gaslit myself into thinking that I didn't know if it was the chariot, but I know it is. Yeah. It's intriguing to me. I haven't done a deep dive into it. But yeah, I love this deck. I love it so much. You know, we had our, you know, our barriers to finding each other, but we found each other. I'm glad I did eventually get the deck. Look at how fucking stunning it is. It's stunning. It's amazing. It's wonderful. I love it. And honestly, there were times I was like, why doesn't it have a guidebook? Like, I want a big, full-length, thick, talk to me for a long time, make me read, make me sit, make me marinate. But then I'm like, no, I like that it doesn't have a guidebook. I like that you get to go wherever you want to go, and the creator is not telling you, which hint, I have a hard time with people telling me what to think and do. And the creator's not telling you what to do. Not to say that that's what it would always feel like, because, you know, you've heard me, I say I love guidebooks all the time, but there's something about this deck that just like, I mean, it makes so much sense that it's been left more open-ended like that. And it's, you know, it has the pips, so you can go based on your, you know, your knowledge of, you know, either the Rider-Waite-Smith, Thoth, or, you know, numerology in general, stuff like that. But yeah, that's it. That is the... Let me see if I can find the card that I want to end on. Yeah, I guess this is my Queen of Swords introduction video. I love how I feel like all my videos double as another video. But anyway, this tag has been so wonderful. This video has been so fun to make. I hope you had a great time. Thank you for allowing me to enter the party a little bit delayed. Thank you, Sylvie, for making such a fun and exciting and cool tag. I love it. It's definitely got me thinking. But if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Check out Tarot Magpie Sylvie's channel if you haven't already. Subscribe if you like the vibes. And I will see you in my next video.